Всем привет, с вами Заканчик, и сегодня мы посмотрим на игру, которая называется The Stanley Parable. Ну что ж, начнем.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Stanley
worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on the desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-sucking, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Stanley был счастлив.
And then one day something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Значит, он, вышел из своего офиса. Так. Значит, надо понять смысл игры.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Так, надо, значит, митинг-рум. Это комната встреч. Где найти? Так, сюда можно? Нет, сюда нельзя.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference. Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
Так, вот сюда.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Точно ну ладно. Он зашел в дверь, которая была слева. Блин, уже выйти нельзя. Ладно. Тоже закрыто. Тоже закрыто. Тоже закрыто. Тоже закрыто.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Он решил пойти в офис своего босса и найти ответ там. Опа.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
И он вернулся обратно. То, что там ничего не было. Может, что-то есть все-таки? Нет. Так, ладно. Идем дальше.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Upstairs. Вверх. Так. Ого, офис. Неплохой. Так, дверь за нами закрывается. О, что это? Так, компьютер. Так, не открывается. Вот это офис. Тут, конечно, да.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
2845.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Блин, где что вводить? 2, 8, 4, 5. Главное не забыть. Главное... вот. 2, 8, 4, 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Отлично. Так. Там темно. Давайте пойдем туда. Главное не... там стена, ладно. Так. О, лифт. Угу. Переходим на следующий уровень.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Так, мы приехали. И свет выключился. Так. Давайте искать что-нибудь.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Спасение. Давайте все-таки сюда. Темно. Давайте нажмем. No.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Там наш вон он. Наш вот с этого ряда. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Вот 427. Так, ладно. Так, пойдем дальше. Так, что тут у нас? Что это?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Как что-то он там не поверил. Поверил там.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Блин. Может сюда нажать? Ладно, давайте сюда. Опа. System power. Off.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Либо выключить и уничтожить там что-то ужасное место. Да, если за всеми следят, давайте off. Что случилось? Опа. Все темно.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Конец ли это? Чё это?
Yes.
Да.
He had won. He had defeated the machine.
победил
Unshackled himself
машину.
from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go.
Это конец?
No longer would
Хоть
anyone tell him where to go,
счастливый
what
конец.
to do, or how to feel.
Короткая игра.
Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
И Стэнли был рад. Все? Это что, конец? И не понял. С самого начала?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Да, это опять? Давайте, знаете, что? Попробуем не в левую дверь, а в правую пойти. По идее, эта концовка должна быть другая. Вот и посмотрим на другую концовку.
When Stanley came to a set of two open... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
И что? Так, давайте посмотрим, что тут. Так, куда-то зашли.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Значит, тут еще концовки есть. Либо это, либо та. Да, интересно. Давайте первую попробуем.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Еще одна. То есть очень большое количество разветвленный сюжет. Так, стоп. Блин, стоп, ну... Нет, обратно что-то.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Давайте переиграем. Так.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door and got back on track.
Это действительно, скорее всего, много возможных концовок. Хотя, скорее всего, концовка одна, но много путей к ней.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now, in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, it's, oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Интересно.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute?
Блин, открой уже.
Now, let's see. We went down, right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Так, даже юмор есть. Вот сюда. Ну, я так и знал.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
То есть, сказал, с самого начала начнем игру. Ну. Так, значит, бежим теперь туда и вперед.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be...
Ой, блин.
Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Так, блин, тут все по-другому совсем. Сначала я думал, что игра просто такая коротенькая и все. А тут я смотрю. И что делать? Тут все двери открыты, куда идти?
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Опять перезагрузка. Да, игра удивляет. Сначала я думал действительно, что...
All of his co-workers were gone. What
На
could
самом
it
деле
be?
очень даже...
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Так, я надеюсь, сейчас все будет правильно.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Вернуться обратно и посмотреть, что мы пропустили. Так, может сюда?
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Что это? Что со звуком? Что это было?
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So, good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay? I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart. All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that? You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Что это? Как это? Ничего не понятно.
Cut the music. Go back and look at that fern.
Что? Еще вернуться назад?
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Пропустил ли я что-то? Я помню только другой вход. Все, выйти, по идее, это нельзя. Что я мог пропустить? Что я мог... Чего? Ладно, давайте дальше пойдем. Давайте пытаться открывать двери.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Блин. Стоп. Оттуда пришли, значит, сюда. Сюда. Стоп. Чё, блин, все равно сюда пришли.
No, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Он сказал, я не могу больше этого терпеть, рестарт. Опять. The Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Все, и по ней идем.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ну ладно.
Now, Yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything.
Это
What
будет
do you
новый
want our
путь,
story to be?
новая история.
Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Будь sure. Будь уверен на
No,
своей...
not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms.
Полностью новый.
Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Блин, так переводить я лучше вообще переводить не буду. Перевожу одно слово. Из всего предложу.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Если так ходить.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget?
Опять он сказал,
Well, what if I don't want to forget?
9 раз типа
My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
Что это было? Так, значит, с самого начала.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Так, сюда. Он сказал, что Стэнли был не прослушан,
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ёма.
That's her, Stan.
Я взял телефон. Все побелело. Вот это да.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Это моя жена.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Death. Это смерть.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Стэнли на экране, типа, чтобы ты нажал кнопку, не делай этого. Но я не буду это делать. А звук даже нажимания, как будто ли клавиши жму. Он сказал, что все равно нажму, а я не нажму. Хотя тогда мы
You see?
пойдем.
Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Чтобы не задавать вопросов.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley.
Я делаю правила, играю свои
I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button.
Пожалуйста,
And I
умрите.
tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Что? Что случилось? Нажал? Помню, на что-то нажал. Что, опять все Тоже какой-то. Понятно все. Так, ладно, давайте опять.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started. And if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Действительно уже не знаю, что делать. Так, там мы вроде все
When
посмотрели.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Так, давайте теперь
Yet there was not
попробуем
a single person
концовку
here
вниз идти,
either.
если повезет.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he... Oh, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Нет, вниз я пойду.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his...
Может, насмотреть где-то из субтитров? Только субтитры, полные комментарии. Окей.
feet when he looked down?
Ну, и где субтитры? Ой.
Doors closed automatically behind him wherever he went.
Нет
And for
субтитров.
that matter, these rooms were
Oh.
starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it.
Вот нашел я время, конечно,
Dreaming!
включить
Well,
субтитры.
this is all a dream.
Под конец игры. Я
What a
думаю,
relief Stanley
скоро.
felt to have finally found an answer, an
А возможно,
explanation.
еще и не скоро.
His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well
Блин,
enjoy
надоело
this
уже
while I'm
кругами
still
ходить.
lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Эй,
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of the world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Все равно там же.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Все, это конец, как я понял. Да что же это такое-то? Да как так?
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon,
Опять какие-то проблемы с зависанием.
very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Я уже жду конца, мне уже интересно, какая концовка. Ну, пойди, он умер. Так, ну ё-моё.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Значит, сейчас мы идем
When
как надо.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the
Потому
door
что
on his
мы уже
left.
все посмотрели, по идее, концовки, как я помню. Нет, только
Yet
надо
there was
место
not a single
идти в ту
person
комнату
here
с
either.
компьютерами,
Feeling a
с
wave of
экранами.
disbelief,
Там, где
Stanley
есть-
decided to go up to his boss's office,
Понятно, тут уже мне
hoping he might
заколотили.
find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any
Как там было?
human life.
2,
What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to
8,
nobody.
4,
He began
5.
wildly tearing through. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of
Да,
anxiety
хотел
isn't healthy,
пробежать.
so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Вы мне откройте уже, пожалуйста, двери вот тут. Вот тут.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Так, спускаемся.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Вот
Mind
станция
Control
управления
Facility.
сознанием. Escape, конечно. Стопудово здесь
Although
не
this
escape.
passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Ну, я же говорю.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Нет, я пойду сюда.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward
Да.
and willingly confront his death.
Навстречу смерти. И что здесь? Как угадаю? Сейчас мы появляемся и момент истины. Нет. Ноги.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Ну, конечно.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Да ну...
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
Ага, это
Do you
значит,
see
тут где
now?
сидел.
Do you see that Stanley was already
Oh,
dead
эти
from the
две
moment
двери.
he hit start?
Компьютеры. Кнопочки. А, это звуки их. Двери. Офис. Картины. Credits. Все это уже титры? Но неужели все это музей игры? Warzone? Что еще? Warzone это типа игра новая? Если какую они хотят. Greenlight. А, это... Он, наверное, в Greenlight когда был. Ну, когда вот они добавили его в Greenlight в 2012. Это что? Narrators Emails. Интересненько, интересненько. Ну и где же конец? Я уже не против, как бы. Или это все? Просто нажимать на кнопку выход. Тик.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your own true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
Все весело. Ну, можно побыстрее? Ну. Ну, и черный экран. А, то есть это конец. Все. Ну что ж, значит, мы как бы по идее прошли эту игру. Она мне понравилась. Сначала я думал, что она короткая, неинтересная. Оказалось, она очень интересная. Вот так вот. Ну все, всем спасибо за просмотр. Всем пока.